You're listening to The Play Pouch. Welcome back, everyone. I'm joined by my awesome pal, Nick, and the master of horror, Alan Priest. How are we doing, fellas?
I'm very good, thank you very much.
Awesome. Nice. We are discussing the brilliance that is Monster Hunter World. We're going to give it a review. We're going to give our ratings at the end. But before we do, if you like our podcast and you like what you've been hearing so far, give us a subscribe, give us a like, click the bell and leave us a comment, give us a thumbs up, all that good stuff. And let's move on with the discussion. So we all completed Monster Hunter World, is that right? Or no, Alan, you didn't, did you?
No, the last two monsters were just annoying.
Depends what you mean by completed. If you mean by completed the storyline, then yeah, we all did. If you mean by like killing all the monsters and doing the end game stuff, then me and Pete just about did. Even the last really annoying boss, we
Fatalis.
we beat him once and was like, you know what, I ain't doing that again. And yeah, but Alan, I can't remember how far you got up to. You did.
I think I fought Fatalis. Isn't the one who creates
No,
that supernova move, and then you just can't avoid it no matter what?
No, I don't think you fought that one.
It's probably the one before it then,
because it was very unfair and it was very frustrating. So I don't think. I think because you had to do all the guiding lands, Alan. I don't remember you doing all the guiding lands.
No, I don't think I ever did.
No.
But it was a long old road, and it is. That is what I mean by completing the game. Is sort of like kicking every monster's ass, and doing most things basically. But I mean, like, it was a grind fest. I mean, I've clocked up. It was about 200 hours. I know, Nick, that your time is what, 300 hours or something.
Probably closer to 400.
Shit, man.
Shit.
None of us. Let's get a little bit of background. None of us, I believe, played any form of Monster Hunter game until World. I'd certainly heard about it on the old Nintendo handhelds.
Yeah.
But since I'm not really a handheld gamer, I didn't really buy the systems. I wasn't prepared to buy the systems for like just one game. But they'd always kind of interested me because I kind of knew what they were. And obviously, since I'm a fan of JRPGs, it's not a JRPG for the record, but it shares similar tropes to some of the JRPGs.
Yeah.
It's not what I would call a JRPG. It hasn't got the same mechanics, but it's got the same kind of Japanese kind of culture with the cooking and the fishing and all those kind of tropes. And there is some of the characters are manga-ish, I suppose, if you look at it. So
yeah, they are very much so.
Yeah.
I mean, I first heard of it when a version was released on the PlayStation, but that would have been PlayStation 2 or something like that. That was a while ago. It was a sort of a new experience for all of us. I think I'm sort of safe in saying that.
Yeah, that's true. Yep, I agree.
It was a difficult mechanics or set of mechanics to get into. We thought the first few monsters were hard, but we never really realized, how difficult it was going to be.
It was the first main game on the consoles because, as I said, mostly it'd been on a handheld. Yeah, there was one on the PlayStation 2, like you said, Pete.
Yeah.
But it was a big deal, especially coming to a in the West kind of thing, right? Because obviously it gained most of its popularity in the East. So it never really achieved much mainstream success in America or in Europe. So when it first appeared on the Xbox and PlayStation, I remember it was one of the E3s, I think. It made its big kind of debut, and then there was a lot of marketing behind it and stuff like that. So it definitely caught my eye, and I remember telling you guys about it, saying I think this would be a good co-op game for all of us to kind of get into. And I think, Pete, you were a bit more receptive to it than Alan. I think, Alan, you really had no idea what it was. Is that fair for me to say? You didn't really ever heard of it before?
I had to watch an Angry Joe review.
Yeah.
And I watched him. I think he was fighting Diablos.
Yeah.
Yeah, in his review, yeah. And I saw it. You sent me the link to it. I watched it. I thought, okay, this could be quite fun.
Yeah.
Went into it from there.
Yeah, because we do like we like our co-op games, especially our ones where we're on the same side. None of us really are deathmatch players per se, but we like our kind of co-op games where you have to team up. And I think it ticked all the bill for all of us. So I remember us all kind of starting at a similar time frame, and I think Pete, me and you, we had more time on our hands than Alan does. That's just the way life is sometimes. So I think me and you kind of blasted through it much faster than Alan was able to. I think that's fair to say. So Alan, since you're probably the more casual out of us three in the game, you clocked the least amount of hours. Did you find it intimidating when you first got into it? Because obviously, me and Pete, I know we kind of went ahead a little bit, and we were kind of waiting for you. But did you find it intimidating?
Not to start with, you start with the first one was the Great Jagras, wasn't it? And that's pretty much the easiest monster in the game.
Yeah,
That was not a problem. But then you start getting to things like the T-Rex thing, me jigs.
Anjanath.
Anjanath, that's it.
right.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, you see one of them quite early on, and I'm thinking, oh my god, I hope it's a long way before I have to fight one of these things. And I found them quite intimidating when I first saw one. And I thought they're huge, they're massive creatures, and I thought, oh. But when you start getting into the game, you start defeating the monsters as you go along. You can put new gear together in your armor set, in your weaponry. I always prefer the longsword because that's me. I like to go in gung ho. I know you guys were more ranged. I think that's what you guys were doing.
I was dipping in between the dual blades and the other fucking thing. What was it called?
Insect glaive.
Thanks, mate. It's depending on my mood. Yeah, I always felt like it was a good idea for me to adopt two weapon styles, basically. So
yeah, I went with the bow because I remember me and Pete were kind of like we both wanted to be the bow, and it's like I was like because I'm so. I won't say that word. I was going to say a naughty word there because I'm so obsessed with only being the one character. So I ended up being the bow, and then I saw Pete was the Insect glaive, and automatically I was jealous because there's me running around with a bow, which is a good weapon. Don't get me wrong, but there's Pete flying around with the Insect glaive, and I'm like, God damn it! God damn it! So then Pete started to dabble in the dual blades, and I was like, okay, so whenever Pete plays as the dual blades, I'll go and grab the Insect glaive. So I had one ranged and one melee because the way the monsters were is that in a perfect world, all the monsters would be all balanced towards every weapon, but that's not the case. Some fights were just flat out easier as a ranged person or flat out easier as a melee.
yeah,
It's just the way it was, and like certain classes, classes that can block and stuff like that could just block all these heavy attacks. So I mean, the weapons were quite balanced, but the monsters much harder. Some fights were just much harder based upon the weapon you chose. It's hard to balance that many.
We should really explain here that Nick has this funny OCD element of himself where if he finds someone else in the party playing the same weapon, then he'll sort of swap out and either that or kick the person off the team.
He'll have a tiff. He'll have a tiff. He will.
That was funny. And that's sort of the charm of playing with mates in games like this because it does sort of like enhance the fun aspect of it all.
Yeah, it was a co-op. It was a good co-op game, and they did adjust the difficulty as well. So if you went in there just as yourself, it was easier in some ways because the monster had less hit points. The monster still hit you just as hard, but the monster had less hit points. So the fights would be kind of, I suppose, easier overall, but I suppose when you've got co-op members, the monster will change its aggro. So, for example, if you need to get a quick heal, because a lot of the monsters will one-shot you, but more often than not, if you've got decent armor, normally you can take a hit. So if you've got more people on your side, the monster will maybe not quite go in for that second hit, giving you a chance to heal while he goes after one of your mates. So it was easier in that way, but the monster itself sometimes had a lot more hit points based upon if there were 2 players or 4 players.
Yeah, you either got one-shotted or two-shotted, 90% of the time, basically.
Yeah, and I think the strategy for me was always like, okay, I accept I'm probably going to be two-shotted, but I need to make sure that my armor is up to par so that I don't get one-shotted. I accept the fact that I'm going to get two-shotted, but if I can survive the first hit, then it's up to me to try and dodge before he hits me a second time. Of course, there's some monsters who had attack patterns where that was much more difficult than others. Generally, the faster, more aggressive monsters could easily hit you twice in quick succession, whereas the slower monsters, the slower, less aggressive monsters, normally gave you a chance to run away and get a heal. That's the way it was.
As time went on, though, there were lesser and lesser slow monsters. But I'm curious to know what people felt of, what people thought their worst monster match was.
Black Diablos.
It was Black Diablos for you. That was easy.
Not the normal Diablos. Okay, the Black Diablos. for me was the most aggressive
Yeah, he was a bit.
monster.
He was.
And because I did play as the bow more than the insect glaive, when I did fight him with the insect glaive, the extra damage reduction from melee attacks generally made the fight easier because I had the extra mobility. But when I was playing as the archer and I was fighting against Black Diablos, it was a completely different story. A perfect example of being a ranged character and just struggling massively against that monster with that much speed and aggression. And he hit me so damn hard that it was always a challenge as an archer. As an insect blade player, no, it was much easier when I played the insect blade because you could just dodge his attacks by jumping over him. That's just the way that it was, man.
Yeah. Alan, what was your worst matchup?
Rajang, hated it.
Yeah.
Fucking Rajang. He just didn't slow down or anything until he actually went down. That's the only time he slowed. The amount of times I've had to fight that thing and I just roll my eyes.
Did you ever fight what was it, the Furious Rajang?
I might have had one go at it, but the regular one was enough.
Yeah, the other one was worse, mate.
Yeah, I think me and Nick probably took him on. I think we did beat him. I mean, we must have done. I'm sure we did beat him.
Getting mixed up with the Rajang we fought in Rise.
Mm.
It's not the one. Is that the one you're thinking of? Yeah.
Yeah.
But the one in Monster Hunter World was harder than the one in Rise. But yeah, Rajang's up there because again, it's another speed and aggression. Speed and aggression. That literally defines a difficulty for me in Monster Hunter World. Speed and aggression.
Yeah, for me, I think my worst matchup. There's a few to choose from, obviously, but I think for me it was probably the Leshen, because that took us hours, and this is a collaboration with.
I think Alan played this one. Yeah, I did. Alan, you never played the Witcher collaboration one, did you? I don't remember.
I don't think I did. Or did I?
It was very hard.
I'm sure. I'm sure I saw it. Yeah, there was a mission, wasn't there, when Geralt is in it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah, I'm sure I fought the Leshen. Yeah.
Oh my god! It was just like he was either bugged out or it just took forever, and we didn't do it, and we had to start again. And
I remember you and me, Pete. We would just. It was like an obsession. I remember it was for us. We spent hours upon hours. One night, I remember we must have played like an 8-hour session or something, and we didn't beat it that night. And I think we both went to bed absolutely furious that we didn't do it. And then it's like, okay, we'll do it tomorrow. And we came back, and then I think even the second night we didn't do it. I think this happened twice. And then on the third night, we finally did it. And the amount of relief I think we had, we were like, we're never ever doing this again.
Yeah.
Ever again. And that was it. One and done. A little bit like the last monster, the Fatalis or whatever. It's just like one and done. That's it. Never doing it again. So
yeah. I mean, I think I've kicked all of the monsters' asses solo, apart from a few. Like, and we've just like 3, and it would have been Fatalis, it would have been Behemoth, and Leshen. I think all the others I've managed to do solo, but it's no mean feat. It's like an achievement. You do, if you've gone through it all and you've done what we've done, you deserve a medal, actually, because it is like it's an achievement, and there's a sort of satisfactory factor to it, and you're just overwhelmed that you've done it all. You feel proud and you want to tell people about it, but when you try to, it's just like
It's a weird one, isn't it? Because similar to the Dark Souls series, there is no difficulty slider. Yeah. There is no difficulty slider. It is what it is, and I suppose the difficulty slider really dictates how far you want to go in a game, right? So if you're only prepared to do on easy mode, you're probably not going to bother with the after like Hunter ranks. You'll finish the main game, but you probably won't touch the other content because the other content gets the part where it's just that hard, where you're just not going to enjoy yourself. Or if you want the challenge and you want to play maybe on a harder difficulty, then you might go further. And I remember, I'll only speak for myself, but for me it was like I enjoyed playing co-op and I wanted to beat him co-op, but there was a part of me that always wanted the accolade of beating him by myself, almost like I'm challenging you one on one, just you and me kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I myself made it a way that I'd always, either I'd kill him by myself to start with, because to do the main storyline, if you guys remember, that had to be done by yourself, I think. Didn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, all the sort of like cutscenes and stuff.
Yeah. So I always enjoyed doing it by myself and then doing it in co-op, because, like I say, in co-op the challenge is different. There's certain bonuses to it, and there's certain pros and cons to it. Like I say, the monster generally, it's a longer fight in co-op. You think it wouldn't be, but more often than not, because of the extra hit points, I found that it was a longer fight in co-op. So you had to survive against the monster longer, because he had so many more extra hit points. So the fights are always longer in co-op. So,
That's right. Yeah.
but no, it was a game which you did feel proud. As frustrating as it was sometimes, you did feel proud when you kind of beat it by yourself. There was an element to that, for sure, mate, for sure.
Well, there was technically 3 difficulty settings, but that was sort of like subtle under the hood type of stuff where, you know, where you said when you're solo and it's got a certain health pool. When you have 2 people, it's slightly less, and when you have 4 people, it's slightly lesser. So in that regard, you know, you could say that there were 3 difficulty levels, but it encouraged you to have 4 members of the party, basically. And yeah, I mean, yeah, as the game went on, just the monsters just got more and more aggravating. You know, Teostra and what was the other one? His wife,
Oh, Lunastra.
Lunostra.
That's right.
Yeah.
Lazy design.
Yeah, they were just complete arse candles. And you know, I mean, like you had lesser ones which were kind of fun, like Odogaron and Toby Kadachi and maybe a bit of Tigrex, and then Uragon was just a complete muppet. And you know, so there were you know, like Devil Joe was a bitch, but I tell you who was the most irritating, Nick. It's the beautiful, the most adoringly beautiful animal that we've ever seen, Kieran.
What a beautiful creature Kieran is. Until you flick its nutsack, then it gets angry at you.
Yeah, it was just like absolutely unbelievable. He'd just go completely flip mode on your ass, you know.
Kieran was a tough one. He was tough one because he was another one who had lots of speed and lots of area of effect with the lightning, and then you had to look at the ground to make sure you're in the right place. And sometimes the color of the ground you were fighting him was a very similar color to the lightning, so it's like, am I looking at that right or not? And before you realized that, you were hit with it. I remember it.
Yeah. There's a wonderful cartoon that a YouTuber did, which just sums it up perfectly. But yeah, I mean,
here's a question then, guys. We did all play it to different levels. I know that me and Pete, I know that we went further in the game than you did, Alan.
Yeah.
Was there any monster? I'll go to you, Alan, first, because like I say, I know you didn't have the experience we did in the end. What monster did you come up against in Monster Hunter World, which you kind of thought, you know what, I don't know if this game's for me? Because we all had those moments where there was just one creature, call it like a wall, like there's a wall in a game which you had to get around. What, Alan, was your biggest wall that you came across? Nerigante, Anjanath. I would call Anjanath the first wall, so to speak, right?
yeah,
Because you had to get your power levels up to beat him. He was the first one. And then the last one of the normal game was Nerigante. There were others afterwards, but I'm just talking about the normal storyline at the moment. Which ones for you do you think you really kind of like, okay, so I can't beat, I don't know how to win this kind of thing?
I think the one that I actually didn't like the most was Kushala, the Wind Dragon.
oh, I fucking hated that one.
That one really wound me up. Thinking every time because obviously, you know, I mean, I only picked the longsword. That was my weapon.
Yeah, you were
every time I went after him, all I got was a ching on him. Every time I hit him, near enough. Trying to find a sweet spot to hit him with is for me near impossible. So I don't think he's probably the only Elder Dragon I didn't beat solo.
Yeah, with his constant wind pressure, it was difficult to not reflect back on him, and it was also difficult to even get near him sometimes because he'd keep putting those tornadoes up.
That's it.
Again,
times I thought I don't know. I just quit the fight sometimes.
And that's a perfect example of what I was talking about earlier, where though that fight against that monster is much easier with ranged weapons, because even though some of my arrows didn't get through, some of them did. They didn't always get through. Sometimes they'd just be knocked away, but not all the time. It's not something that permanently happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, my archer excelled in that fight, for example, because of the nature of it. Not sure about the insect glaive. I think you could get some hits on him, but you're still knocked away sometimes. How did you get on with the dual blades, Pete, on the Wind Dragon? Because it was like Helen was, you had to get right next to him. How did you manage to?
Obviously, with the dual blades and dragons, you're going to find it hard, because it's like the fuckers are in the air all the time.
Yeah.
And, you have to sort of like work out how you can entice it back to the ground and stuff. And either that or you'd have to sort of work out how to get yourself in the air. I mean, I would err on the side of using the insect glaive when it came to dragons. So I would rarely use dual blades.
Yeah.
But for me, the most annoying and difficult one, other than the ones I've already mentioned, like Wall, would have probably been Safi'jiiva. That would,
I remember you, Pete. If I'm wrong, tell me. But I do remember you struggling a little bit initially with Nerigante, didn't you? I remember you telling me when you first fought him, you had some problems with him.
Yeah.
To start with.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much most of them you had issues, but I remember being irritated with Safi'jiiva so much. I think that's probably where I lost my mind a little bit. And we have to sort of preface this with a little bit of a mental health warning, right? Because if you've got mental health issues, you're gonna lose your shit with this game. Trust me. And unless you're playing on the PC and you have access to mods, in that case, go for it. But if you're just playing the vanilla.
Oh yeah, we all played this on console, by the way.
Yeah,
guys, it was all on the Xbox. So
no cheating,
no mods or anything. No.
But yeah, no. I just distinctly remember Safi'jiiva being the one which really pissed me off. He always managed to get his own way, and it's I'm not shitting on the AI because the AI was so good in this game. I can't fault it, but it was erring on the side of cheating a lot. It would sort of when I hit a fucking monster, if it's a small monster, then I expect that monster to reel or to sort of react to it. And monsters would rarely do that. And so it's not very realistic. I mean, it's not a realistic game, let's face it. But, I just found it with the Kirin and my if I was playing dual blades, I'd expect it to be ow, that hurts. But no, it was literally headbutt, back feet kick and whatever, all that shit. It just sends you into orbit, right? And you just get, you're just and you'll have to spend 5 minutes buffing up your character, and we're going to get onto that in a bit anyway. But yeah.
Well, this leads me on to my next question. Did you find, and I guess maybe Pete, you've kind of answered a little bit, but maybe we'll go a bit more in depth.
Yeah.
Was there any monster you felt had a move which was unavoidable?
Oh God, there were plenty.
Or did you think that every move had a counter? Was there a counter to every move, no matter what that counter was, and the skill level behind it? Because some of the counters you did need a high skill level. Well, what moves can each of us think of where it's what, I can't dodge that move, or I don't know how to, there's no way to block that move?
Yeah, there was one that I remember. It was Behemoth, where he would sort of go into this crazy mode where he would launch meteors from the sky, and if you weren't sort of behind a rock or something, you were dead. So you either had to jump into the sky with this unique move, and if you didn't time it well, you were fucked. If you weren't behind a boulder that he dropped, you were fucked.
Yeah, but isn't that the counter though? So there is a counter to it then. Do you see one point?
Yeah, no, I do. But if you were far away from Iraq or you didn't know about the move or you didn't want to use that move, then you were fucked. So in a way, the only other one I can think of is Fatalis. He had a move, didn't he? Which was just like, you're fucked. I can't remember. No, I think everyone had a get out clause, but like it was just sort of like,
I think I was just trying to get to a question where, because I think we're all going to have slightly different opinions on it. That how unfair did you think the game was? Now we've all got gripes regarding. I think we're going to get into some of them in a bit regarding not being able to cancel animations. I know for sure, Pete, that's 100% one of your pet peeves. But did we think that the AI was unfair, or was it? There's a difference between it being hard and unfair. Does any of us think that AI was unfair?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Like what, Pete? Give us a good example.
Well, like we have a stamina bar.
Yeah.
And the enemies don't seem to have any. Right? They have an infinite pool of stamina, and they just keep spamming and spamming and spamming.
They actually do run out of stamina, but not often. But they do. They get fatigued though. Don't you remember? They kind of sit there and they got saliva coming out their mouth.
Yeah, eventually.
Eventually, yeah.
But
eventually.
Like when you first start off, it's just like slam, 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 and you're just like, oh, for fuck's sake! Like all my bones are broken. I'm fucking. I'm bleeding. I'm like, I can't do this. And then whack, you get another one. And yeah, it's not fair. It in terms of, an equal chance, it just really isn't. But I guess that's the game,
Alan?
Yeah. It's probably Fatalis. He's the one I hated. That's the one I never beat, because as soon as he does that supernova thing, you can't avoid it. You could be at full health and you're gone. I don't know how anyone even escapes that. That is just bullshit. That's a bullshit move.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's one of the. For me, yeah. For me, it was just like, I don't know, like Behemoth. I hated that guy, and I was annoyed that I could never do him solo, and I really wanted to as well. But there was also an ancient lesson. Just remembered.
That was the one, yeah. So that the normal one we did fine. This is me and Pete, and that's, I don't know, that might be the one you did, Alan. The ancient one is the one which we took days to do. That's the ancient one was the one where it's just like, okay, this is taking us days and days to do it. There was two versions. There was the normal version, and there was the updated version. So for me, I actually didn't find anything that I thought actually was unfair. I didn't. Very, very difficult, but not unfair.
Really?
Yeah. Because I felt there was for me, I got frustrated just as much as the rest of you. But if I felt like there was an attack that was unblockable, or there was a mechanic that was not. I'm all about the count. If there's a way to counter it, some things were incredibly difficult to counter, but as long as they can be countered, I'm okay with it, because it becomes a skill level thing. And for me, I guess I just think that skill level is kind of like, yeah, there are some people who are going to have better reflexes, but it's like anything else. If you do something enough, if you practice enough, you will get to the point where you can beat it. And I think in the end, we did do that. And I think, Alan, you would have done that eventually as well if you'd have persevered and put the time in. But I know you don't have to have as much time to game as we did, but you would have got there as well eventually through trial and error, because that's what it is. A lot of it is trial and error. A lot of it is tells.
Yeah,
if you they're puzzles. That's how I see them. They're puzzles, and you fight something long enough, you'll start to learn the tells.
Yeah.
You'll learn you learn the opportunities for when you attack. You learn the opportunities for when you have to go on the defense. You'll tweak your builds and stuff like that. Another thing, Alan, that because you didn't play as much, you didn't get to have all the kind of end game skills that I think me and Pete did, because they came in those jewels, didn't they? Which you had to grind for.
Yeah.
So because me and Pete played the game a lot more, we ended up having most of the skills we needed, which you would have got as well in the end. because it was a random how you got the jewels to fit into all the weapons and stuff like that. The way they did it, and this is something I guess we can go into the way the mechanics worked regarding stuff like this, because it was heavily involved in RNG. If you wanted to have a certain build and you needed a certain skill, you needed to get these certain jewels. And if you were just really unlucky, you wouldn't get the jewels you needed. And so you could never complete your builds.
Yeah, that's happened more often than not, to be honest.
Yeah. Now, in Monster Hunter Rise, they actually made it much less random. I'm sure you remember, Alan. So they actually did take that feedback on board. So whenever the next mainline game comes out on the Xbox, probably within the next couple of years, I imagine that they will probably continue like they did with Rise, and they will take some of the RNG away, because it just made the end game builds which you needed to squeeze out every kind of bit of damage, and you needed to squeeze out every bit of defense you could get to beat these end game monsters. And if you were just shit out of luck and you just did not get the right drops, you couldn't create the build you needed. And then that's when I think people started really getting frustrated, because grinding's fine. I enjoy grinding, but you can only farm the same couple of monsters, which does lead me to the next thing regarding the whole concept of the grind. Was there enough end game monsters for you guys? Because really, in the end, I remember spending all my time fighting. Was it Valhazak? Was that the name of him?
Was that the undead dragon?
Yeah, because he was the easiest of the 4 dragons which you needed to farm to get the level 3 jewels.
Yeah.
And because he was the easiest one to beat, I remember I used to beat him. I could beat him in under 5 minutes, because I fought him so much. I knew how to beat him, so I could farm him as fast and as efficiently as possible. But it got old real fast. I'd do it 10 times and I'd be like, oh my, I don't want to do it anymore. How did you guys feel about it?
I liked that one, and he was especially fun with the dual blades. With the dual blades, yeah, you could just like twat him up, like thrash him. But like even he had like these annoying moves. He would just like excrete this sort of like death dust, and it would just like destroy your health bar, and you had to sort of like go out of your way and put builds together that negated that.
Countered it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you did.
Yeah, and that's a factor of the game that I found really annoying. Is like all these excuse me. It's that all these build requirements and stuff. There were too many, I thought, and it did get a bit sort of annoying. I have gripes with the game. It's not a perfect title in terms of like boss fighting.
Oh, certainly not.
And that's one of them, basically.
Okay, so what we'll do then, we'll each talk about something that we really thought was the best part of the game. So, Alan, what did you like the best? What mechanic did you really like the best about the game? And then we'll do the ones we didn't like. But starting up with you, Alan, what did you like? What was the best mechanic for you? What was it like? Yeah, I really like this part of the game.
I think I really liked the jungle map to start with. It was a good. It was a good experience going through the jungle. I know it doesn't sound like much, but I appreciated the graphics in that one. I appreciate you could actually get to a certain point in the jungle. You can actually look down and you think, "Oh, that's the monster I want to get." You can just leap down and start your fight right there.
Yeah. I liked that map. Yeah, I think that's my favorite too.
Yeah, because the desert one was a bit grounded. Okay, there's some ledges you could jump off and stuff like that, and obviously that I'm probably going to get confused now with Rise, but there wasn't a volcanic one. That was more in the desert one, because there was a volcanic area. No, there was a volcanic area, wasn't there, in World? Because that's where the Beetlejuice used to reside.
Yeah,
and Teostra and Lunastra and stuff.
That's it. Yeah. But the jungle one, I did like the jungle map. I did like that. I like the fact that you could upgrade your armor, you can upgrade your weaponry. The jewels you spoke of, Nick, you could put into. I mean, I had a list. I used to write down. I used to go on YouTube, and I used to try and work out the best build for my character. Thinking, okay, I need this. I have to go after this monster. I've got to carve this one. I've got to make sure I capture this one, and for the best results.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, it wouldn't go my way. So thinking, great, I've just spent pretty much 2 hours slaying the same monster, and I'm not getting what I want. But
Yeah, there is an
hey,
element of randomness. I mean, the
yeah,
jewels are one of the random things, but also certain parts of the monster you have to get.
yeah,
You need to cut off certain parts. I know Alan's going to talk about cutting off tails. I'll let him talk about that in a second. But yeah,
yeah,
there were certain parts you had to break of a monster to get like these jewels, and some of these were quite low percentages. We're talking single figures.
yeah,
Yeah.
So you
It's that.
sometimes had to, sometimes you had to kill a monster 20 times. Not
yeah.
only kill the monster, you had to kill the monster while making sure that you broke off the right part. So you had a chance at the drop, which would be like 5% or something.
Yeah.
So it could take a while. And once again, if you got
Yeah.
unlucky, then you would get frustrated. But
Yeah.
that is the nature of the game,
Yeah.
isn't it?
I remember fighting the Rathian a few times because you had to break its back for something that I needed, and I'm thinking to break its back was really hard for me. I think for you guys it would have been easier because obviously you dabbled with long range. I did try long range, to be honest. I did try it. I didn't like it.
Yeah,
You know me.
you tried.
I like going. I like being gung ho. I like going in there and just balls out, just taking them.
Yeah, you tried the bowgun. I remember we tried to get you to
Yeah.
try the bowgun to give you an option. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't take to it. I really didn't take to it. I don't know.
Pete,
Yeah. Sorry.
okay then. Pete, what is the best thing about the game for you? What is the best mechanic that, like, yeah, okay, this is the gameplay loop. I really dig this mechanic. This is really what I like.
You mean apart from me getting jewels that you didn't?
Apart from you being a lucky bastard, yeah, I remember that stuff. Don't worry about
I
that.
was so lucky, but throughout the whole game, for some fucking reason, the
Yeah, I
system
remember that.
favoured me rather than you. Yeah, but no, seriously, my favourite part of the game was probably like, the fashion aspect of it. I'd look forward to defeating a new monster just to see what their armor set looked like, and their weapon looks and stuff. I mean, like the weapon trees were huge and stuff like that. So to work out the right type of weapon, you had to sort of work out, right, I've got to kill that monster, then I've got to kill this one, and blah blah blah. I've got to grind that one. So I mean, like, that was kind of cool. I did like that, yeah. Other than that, I mean, as Alan said, that forest map was nice. I'm always very partial to sort of like foresty type areas. So yeah, I was loving that area. I kind of think that's it, actually. What about you?
Well, for me, I detested the forest map, so you guys can go to hell because I hated that fucking map.
Why?
Just got lost in it, dude. I just found it hard to navigate.
Okay, fair enough.
That was by far my worst map. Right, so that's I can't lie about that one. For me, it was a build diversity. It was.
Yeah.
I love those kind of things. I am that kind of gamer. I do like the complexity and stuff like that. I'm a bit of a nerd for that stuff. I didn't find it overwhelming. I engrossed myself on it, and rather than, I didn't care as much as I think you did, Pete, about the cosmetic side. Yeah, I mean, I wanted my characters to look like a babe, sure, but I was more interested, like, well, what skill does this give me? Can I crank out an extra bit? Can I get this skill to level 4? Can I crank out an extra bit of damage? Can I get my evade to be a bit more? Can I get that bit more powerful? So all that tinkering around with stuff like that. I mean, I really like that stuff. I like my games with that complexity, to be honest. So I was always going to gravitate to that stuff. And that was, definitely that stuff. If it would have been a bit more streamlined for me, I wouldn't have gotten. It wouldn't have motivated me probably to carry on because I wanted to kill the next monster. So I could see, well, can I improve my build a little bit?
Yeah.
Can I find the new armor piece that is going to let me, that's got an extra jewel slot onto it, right? So I can get level 5 on that or level 4 on that, just to squeeze that extra little bit of, I suppose, perfection out of the character. And of course, you never can get perfection. There's always one more skill you want which you can't fit in.
Well,
that's the way it goes.
Well, here's the issue for me. I mean, I love building, like making new builds and stuff, like you said, but there were too many different skills, and a lot of them were just completely pointless.
A lot of them were worthless. You're right. There was a lot of them which was just filler that you'd never choose.
Yeah. Like, oh fuck, I don't know. There's a whole ton of them, but yeah, there were just there were a lot of them, but they could have cut half of them out at least and sort of made the game a little bit more, pleasing. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, and also I would also give a shout out as well. There's not many games that really do have 13 different weapon types.
Yeah,
and the majority of them play differently. I'm not going to say all of them. There's some that overlap, but the majority of them play differently, and a lot of them have their own very unique mechanics.
yeah,
So to really get the most out of the class, you really got to put some serious time into it. You can't just be a casual, I'm just going to play. No, if you really want to get the most out of the class, there's a lot of stuff to learn. It can be a little overwhelming with 13 different weapon types. I ended up really only mastering 2. I dabbled in the hunting horn a little bit near the end,
yeah.
just for a little bit of a laugh, for something different. But I never really mastered the hunting horn, so I only ended up, I would say, mastering 2. I think Pete, you ended up mastering 2.
Yeah.
And Alan, you only stayed with the longsword, really, didn't you?
Yeah, I did try the greatsword.
It was too slow, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was too slow, but it did work against some of the big ones.
Yes.
Actually, I'm talking about sword and shield that protected me against the Diablos attacks.
Oh, that's
you
right.
You tried the lance, didn't you, with the big shield?
Oh, the gun, yeah.
The gun lance, that's it, the gun lance.
Gun lance, that's it. Yeah, that works against Diablos quite well. I remember taking his horns off quite easily.
Yeah, you could block his moves, couldn't you, with the big shield? Yeah.
Yeah. So in that respect, the Black Diablos wasn't that much more of a problem. He hit hard, yeah, of course he did. But with that weapon, I found myself, pretty relaxed against him.
Yeah, you could block his attacks. That's what I mean. There's so many different play styles of the weapons that it's hard for me not to give him credit. Most games don't have 13 different weapons with such a diverse way of playing them.
Definitely.
And different mechanics, different ways to power up. There's a whole bunch of weapons that I never even tried. Switch axes, which has had its own unique mechanics and all stuff like that. So, 2 was enough for me, but I'm sure Pete, you've seen people who will spend thousands of hours, not hundreds, and they'll just master every weapon, and God knows how long it takes them to master every weapon, but they will do that.
Yeah.
And that's that.
Because it was each weapon style had its own grind fest, and it was like a whole new world of pain. So you couldn't really go beyond sort of dabbling without committing to a grind,
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good point. So we all like the game, but we all have gripes at different levels. So why don't we start with you, Pete? Your biggest gripe. If we said all the gripes, we'll probably be here all night. What the biggest gripe, the main one for you?
Cancelling out of moves.
I knew you'd say this.
Right. Now, okay, to be fair, right, and I there was a moment of epiphany towards the end of me playing this game, and I'll get to that in a sec. But yeah, my gripe was if I committed to a specific dual blade move, which was like multiple attack strings, you were locked into that once you pressed it, and that string would take a good 10, 15 seconds to complete. And if the monster decided to come round and twat you, you were fucked, basically. So you had to basically wait for a moment that you could be sure that you would be safe doing this string and perform that string, execute it. And I never really sort of, I would just go in and just do that move. And it was only later on in the game when I realized that it's essentially, when you think about it, it's just a game of chess. That's what it is with these monsters.
Yep, 100%.
If you thought about it, it was chess, and you had to consider every single aspect of your move. And yeah, so like you have light attacks and you have strong attacks, and then you have these attack strings. So when you knew that the monster, if you knew his move set, you knew that you had a number of seconds to get away with an attack string, you'd go in and do it. It's all about attack windows and stuff. So yeah, I realized that it's a subtle dance of chess, basically, and I did admittedly realize that too late, because I was very button happy, like my trigger finger was just out of control, I think, for most of the game.
No, it makes sense, Pete, because it is quite an arcadey game. You wouldn't really consider it to be a little bit more like a simulation. It seems like an arcade game, and there's a lot of arcade mechanics to it. But as you right said, when it comes, especially when it comes to the later monsters who are more aggressive, who do move around a lot more, you need to pick your moments.
Yeah.
You need to almost counter. It's all about countering the monster. It's not about aggression so much. I don't think it's about countering the monster. So knowing when to go on the attack, when to go on the defense.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Alan, what is your biggest gripe with the game? What did you not like about it the most?
The monsters don't eat you; they just knock you out.
So you want to die?
Yeah, that's bullshit. Why do they knock you out? They eat you. They should eat you.
Yeah, that to be funny, to be fair, that would have been a fun mechanic to just like have them chomp you up.
I mean, you know, if you're sharing lives, let's say, because obviously when you play in co-op, you're sharing. Was it a maximum of 3 attempts, isn't it?
Depends on the investigation. Sometimes you had 5.
Yeah. Okay. So if you were to be knocked out the 4th time, and then the last person is to get like mauled or eaten, that would have been better.
But then,
Because I look at something like a Tigrex or a Glavenus or even an Anjanath, I'm thinking this is a carnivore. He's gonna look at you and think that's lunch. I'm not just gonna roll over you and hit you with my tail. No, I'm gonna eat you.
fair enough.
Yeah.
But that would that mean that you were out of that fight, or would you?
No,
be
that
revived?
should be the last hit, the last attempt. Once your hit attempt's down to 1, that one is where they eat you.
It's like after you've lost 4 lives and you've cutted 4 times. Whoever takes the 5th, whoever loses the 5th life would be eaten. That's what I think you mean.
Okay,
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, yeah, that would have been funny. It would have been funny to watch. Yeah,
it doesn't have to be overly gory. Just just get swallowed. That'd be fine.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we'll talk about favourite monsters then, and then we'll do the ratings, and then we'll wrap up after that. So, who was everybody's favourite monster? I suppose we can, if you want to do a top 3, we can do top 3. Who's everyone's top 3 monsters?
All right,
Alan, Pete, which one do you want to go first?
Alan, you can go first if you want.
Well, in no particular order, Anjanath, because I thought they look like a T-Rex.
Yeah.
So I always thought fighting them, and cutting their tails off was always a highlight for me, because you used to cut their tail off and they'd like roll. This really clumsy roll, these tails goes spinning off into the other direction, and I quite like that. That made me smile enough every time.
Alan's love for cutting the tails off, trust me, is legendary. Whenever me and Alan were playing, it's just like one of the missions, no matter which one of us needed to drop.
I mean, it'll probably bring me to another point I didn't like about it. Certain dinosaurs you couldn't cut the tails off, thinking, but wait a minute, I can cut a tail off this thing, which is like 20 times bigger than me. Yeah, something smaller than me, I can't, like, was it a Pookie Pookies you could? Geez, I can't remember that other one, that funny little one that used to like throw eggs at you.
Oh,
the Kulu.
That's it. Yeah. Why couldn't you cut their tails off?
What about a Nedry? People won't understand what a Nedry is. Basically, the Nedry monster is from Dennis Nedry from Jurassic Park, because it looks like the thing that kills.
Oh,
Dennis
it does.
Nedry.
Yeah, it looks like a Dilophosaur. Yeah. Not one of my favourites, but Anjanath. I did enjoy fighting Nogagane. Actually, he's actually fun to fight.
Yeah,
he was annoying, but he was fun.
Was that the twat that spat out all these sharp
thorns? Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Technically the boss of the game, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he's fun. I didn't. Say he was a challenge, and I didn't mind losing to him, because I know he was like the end game boss, if you liked, of the thing. Well, he wasn't quite, was he? Because you had an Eldragon to fight after that. But the one I actually liked fighting the most, and I had a rubber match with this one. I used to have 2 out of 3 falls with him all the time, and I used to solo him all the time, and we used to go back and forth. He'd beat me, I beat him. He'd beat me, I beat him. And that was Glavenus. I used to love fighting that one. I don't know what it is.
Interesting.
I think it reminded me of Godzilla, because the way his horns, his spines were on his back.
Yeah.
And the fact that he used to just swing his tail, because he had that blade on the end of his tail to try and cut you down. That was a lot of fun. I did enjoy fighting him.
So yeah, I mean, for me, I did quite like Namielle. Just because she was very colourful, and it was kind of interesting in a way, I guess. Another one would have been who was the idiot with the gold hide, and we had to go in teams to get its gold off.
I know, yeah, we did that a lot. I'm struggling for the name here, but he was the big gold.
Not Barath.
No.
I need to find the name now.
Koltaroth or something like that.
Oh, Kulv Taroth, yes.
Koltaroth.
Yes. Yeah, I like that one. And then also, I think, I don't know, I think probably either Val Hazak or what you call it, Odogaron, because Odogaron was just
they're fun.
He was all over the fucking place, and it was such a pleasure when you actually finally managed to sort of like twat him. It's just like, will you stop fucking moving about all the place? Yeah, I think maybe I do have a soft spot for Kirin, even though he's like just such a little shit. But yeah, I don't know. What about you, Nick?
Probably my third favorite would be Azure Rathalos, because for me Rathalos is the kind of quintessential monster. It's the kind of the flagship monster, I suppose. It's normally on the artwork, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the Azure Rathalos was the hardest version of that, so I felt that he offered the most challenge. I was just really, it's a dragon. It's a dragon. It's the closest thing to a normal dragon you're probably going to find.
True.
And second, I think I'll probably have to go with Nerigante, because he looked badass to me. I thought, and the story built him up to be the big bad. And I did find that when I went to fight him, I mean, he hit like a truck. I did remember beating him first time, which I was a bit surprised at the time, because I thought that he'd wreck me.
Yeah.
But I actually did manage to beat him the first time, and I remember being extremely proud about that. But every fight was pretty tough against him, and I thought he just made for a good bad guy. I thought he looked the part. I thought he was aggressive. The way all his spikes were kind of like change color when he started getting angry, and then once he got really angry, he went into this rage mode, and then he's got his big move, which was more or less a one shot on you. You could evade it, but it was a difficult evade, not an unfair evade, but a difficult evade. But if it hit you, it was more or less game over. So he had that kind of big move to watch out for kind of thing about him as well. I think my favourite, I'm torn between Black Diablos, because I hate him so much, so he really was a rival of mine. But I can't say I enjoyed the fights.
So
because
it was a love-hate relationship.
It was a love-hate relationship. I think just for pure beauty, it is going to have to be Kirin, because I just thought the creature design was just, what a great creature that was.
I remember when we first came across him, it was like, really? This guy's cute, man. What the fuck?
And I remember, because obviously he wrecked us for quite a while, because he was really difficult. And it's just like, we're just getting absolutely wrecked by this pony. And he's just prancing around. And that's what he was. He would prance around, not giving any shit at all.
Yeah.
He'd prance around like he weren't even there. And then we'd just be getting hit by lightning and absolutely wrecking us for ages. I mean, like in the end with most monsters, you find a way to counter him, and then yes, we did beat him, and then it got easier after you've beaten him, because it's like, okay, so now we know the tricks. But yeah, I'm going to put Kirin at number one, just because of the whole comedy value, and the whole the creature design is very pretty as well. He's very pretty, too pretty really,
yeah,
and too arrogant and too galloping around, and just too much.
Fuck.
Yeah, so I mean, we've covered a lot of things. There is a lot more we could go into, because there is so much to the game, but we'll leave it there for now. What we will do is we'll give our ratings out of 10 as normal, and and bring on the next game hopefully within the next couple of years. So Pete, do you want to go first out of 10?
Yeah, I will give it a solid 8. There are aspects of the game that really, really frustrated me, because I've got some mental health issues. Like, it was very dangerous, and I sort of, I came close to the edge of just sort of losing my mind. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but for normal people, it was just like a good ride. Essentially it's boss fight the game. And it sharpens your reflex skills, which you can use in real life and stuff like that. It is very beneficial to a lot of different things actually. But yeah, so despite its flaws, it still gets an 8, just because just of the AI, the level, and the diversification of the level styles and stuff like that, and the different types of monsters with different aspects of attacking and stuff, unique moves, etc. So yeah, mine's an 8.
And would you be prepared to buy the next one?
Absolutely, yeah. Bring it on, bitch.
Yeah, good. Okay, Alan, what did you think overall?
Oh, definitely an 8 out of 10. I agree with Pete. It's definitely an 8 out of 10 because I say it's not perfect. It's frustrating because I never beat Fatalis for that.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that they kept bringing new monsters in.
Yep.
You know, they'll with patch ones in. Okay, some of the designs were lazy. Teostra, Lunastra. One's red, one's blue, for fuck's sake.
I will add also that it was all free. There was an expansion, obviously Sunbreak, wasn't it?
That is true. Yeah,
But it
so
was,
on that basis,
Yeah.
you can't really groan about about that because
Yeah.
yes, as you said, it's absolutely free. So okay, so we'll forgo their the laziness on the design aspect, but no, it's a solid 8. It was a lot of fun for what it was. It was a lot of fun. It was very simplistic in its design, as you said. There wasn't really much of a story.
No.
But the fact you could change your armor, you could change your weaponry, you could upgrade everything, you could switch around your set. So you could have a bit of Anjanath, you could have a bit of Rathalos, you could have a bit of Teostra in there, put some jewels in, you've got something that's going to smack the next monster to high hell.
That was the gameplay loop, wasn't it? It's like, you fight the monster, then you take his parts and you prepare for the next monster.
Yeah.
Rinse and repeat. And so would you, the next one coming out in the next couple of years, most likely, are you up for it, or is it like, no thanks?
When can I pre-order?
I told you about pre-ordering, Alan.
I think it's safe to say that with another Monster Hunter game, it's a blind buy. You have to be a blind buy because
Probably.
it can't be bad.
They've not really changed their formula in so many years, so it's going to be more or less the same thing. They might add a couple more things, but mainly the same.
And plus, it's going. It's probably going to be on this new REX engine, which is going to make everything look a lot more beautiful and stuff like that. So,
yeah, hopefully it's. I mean, they normally optimize pretty well. It's not. There was never that many bugs really. It was not a particularly buggy game, was it?
no.
And that stuff, generally, it's pretty solid. As for me, I guess I'm going to be the more positive one on it. I'm going to give it a 9. I have to give it a 9 if I'm spending 400 hours on something. If I don't give it a 9, I'm crazy.
Mm.
I'm absolutely insane. To me, that if I don't give it a 9, so it's got to be a 9. For something to make me want to put that many hours into anything, I'm going to have to bloody like it. So it's a 9 out of 10. It did have issues, but I felt it was mostly fair. The cancelling of animations, I agree with you, Pete. But I will say that not all. Some weapons, their animations were shorter. I think maybe the dual blade one, like you said, was a longer one than maybe it should have been.
Yeah.
But I know there's. I mean, I've seen people play the lance where all they do, whether or not this is fun or not, but all they do is they just block for most of it, and then they do these little jabs, and that's it. That's the gameplay. They do these little jabs. There's no like long animations, stuff like that. So it's weapon dependent, I think, as well. Playing as the archer, there was one animation that the big shot I had as an archer, which in the end I just never bothered with it for that reason, because it took too long.
Yeah.
So you just so it was just how do you play the bow? You don't incorporate that move because because you're stuck in position. It's too long, so you just don't use it. So you use other stuff. So I those kind of criticisms I get, but I didn't experience it anywhere much as you did, you playing the dual blade. So it's 9 out of 10. Lots of different monsters, lots of different puzzles to solve, 13 different weapon types. You're going to find at least one weapon you like. I like the mechanics. It's deep. I don't like the RNG stuff. I think they went too far on it because you can just get screwed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's 9 out of 10. I loved most of my time. Even when I look back on it, even the times I was pissed off, I kind of loved. But I do understand totally, Pete, because I was there for when you lost it a little bit, which is fair because the mental health stuff did play a role. I know you got a bit sick over it, didn't you? So
Yeah.
and that's 100% fair. It can do that to you.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, just
Um,
beware, everyone. You know, if
Yeah.
you do have these issues, then just know that it's going to make those issues worse. If you know,
and yeah, the last thing probably it did. I'm quite a stubborn person, and that I am. So when I lost it, I was like, okay, so now I'm going to get you back. So that determination kind of there that played a lot into it. But I can see why a lot of people would just be like, you know what, screw this. This is just not fair and stuff like that. And I understand totally, and it can really screw with your mental health. And so yeah, like Pete says, do be wary of that because
yeah,
you will get to that point sometimes where it will feel like an unstoppable wall. But yeah, 9 out of 10. And as far as the next game, bring it on right away. Now I want it tomorrow. So I'd be lying if I said I didn't want it tomorrow.
yeah. Bring it on, man. I'm ready to tackle it again. But like, it is going to be a situation where if I get to a certain point, then I'm just going to stop the game and come back to it like the next day or something.
Which is the smart thing to do. 100%.
Yeah.
Definitely. Right. Has anyone got anything last things to say on it? Did we
No.
miss anything?
No, I think we've covered most of it, haven't we?
Right. Okay then.
Yeah.
So there we are, folks. There we are. That's Monster Hunter World. A 9 from me, 8 from Pete, and 8 from Alan. So obviously we all strongly recommend it. It's a couple of years old now. You can get it real cheap, really, and it's certainly worth it.
Yeah.
Considering the amount of hours you can lose yourself in, it's certainly worth the entry price.
And plus the DLC's fun too. The Iceborne DLC, which adds another wealth of monsters to it.
That's right. Yep.
Definitely.
And there's so many monsters in it, so much stuff to do. You can easily lose hundreds of hours, and you'll probably enjoy it. And you can play it with your mates as well. So it's all good.
Yeah.
Right then. Thanks for listening, guys. Remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell, notifications, leave comments. What are your favourite monsters? What weapons did you play? And are you looking forward to the next game? Yeah, let us know. And I guess we'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody. And take care.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
No problem.
Take care, guys.